Well, that was for the cover of Old Number One. Guy knew this house over off of West End Avenue that was abandoned. It was open, so we just went in and looked around and it had this great stucco wall that I loved. And we just spent a couple hours shooting there. That other print on top of it is from the same, it's from the same day.
Did you bring Susanna's painting with you to hang up?
Yeah, we brought the painting. This was in an old house. You can see how rough it was. And we were looking for a place to put the painting and do a portrait. So when we found this house, that was it. And we just really both fell in love with it.
This was a house on a West End in Nashville.
It was one of the side streets off of West End.
Would you remember where it's at now?
I could probably remember the street, but I couldn't.
Like if we drove by there, would you be able to remember the house?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's probably not there. I mean, this was like, what year was that?
1972?
72, 73, yeah.
I'm bad with years, so.
Yeah, I am too. Well, Guy and I became pretty good friends almost instantly when we met. First of all, we were both the same age. I was born in May of 41. Guy, I think, was in November of 41. And he came from LA and I came from New York, and both at the same time. And I fell in love with his work immediately, and he loved what I did. So we were kind of really mutual fans of each other's stuff. And I think Guy probably set up, I can't remember what label it was for, but I think Guy probably set the thing up for me to shoot it.
So what do you remember about
well, this was at one of Guy's photo sessions, and Towns was there. So it was obvious to take some stuff of Towns. So it was just a few rolls of film that I shot of him. But I really love this portrait of Towns because it really shows that face, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it really, and it's just one of the, like everything, it's just one of those moments.
Maybe we project some of these things onto Towns because of the legend or whatever, but there's just so much going on in his eyes.
Yeah.
There's
a
knowing.
Yeah.
And
that, just the lighting, I just love the way the light hit him and that scar on his face and everything.
This was in your studio?
Yeah.
Is this against a wall? This doesn't look like the background.
It's not the canvas backdrop, but I had a blank wall there that was on wheels that I could roll around. It was just a plain, like just a stucco wall, and for some reason that's where it happened.
Yeah. There's this picture of Guy Clark here. Is he playing darts? Is that?
Yeah. Okay. This is a great story. Guy was a dart hustler. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
He could really play darts, and he didn't let anybody know about it until it was too late. So this picture was shot. Bob Miller, the guy who was my assistant, moved down here from New Jersey. We were in high school. We didn't go to the same high school, but we were in high school the same years. He moved down here to help, and he was my assistant for for a long time, for probably 20 years. So this was on Bob's birthday, his 50th birthday, and this is the old canvas in the background. This was in over in the Wyoming Avenue studio. It's Guy's birthday, and everybody's drinking and having a good time. And there was a dartboard up there. So I look over, and Guy and Bob are shooting darts, and I knew about Guy. They're shooting darts, and they're playing for like $1, a couple dollars. And Bob runs out of money. Like he didn't have any, he had a few dollars on him, that was it. So Guy says to him, I'll shoot you for that jacket you're wearing. And this jacket was a birthday present from Bob's wife, who just gave it to him that day. It was his birthday. So Bob says, okay. So So they're shooting darts, and obviously, Guy won the jacket. He's wearing Bob's jacket. He just got on his birthday. And he goes home with it. He wears it home. And Bob's wife was so pissed off, man. Bob calls me the next day. He said, "Man, I got to get that jacket back." so Guy did, just for spite. I mean, Guy wore it home, and he knew he was going to give it back. So anyway, the next day, Guy brought the jacket back and gave it back to Bob. But he won this jacket shooting darts, and it was just I just picked up a camera. I mean, I don't even know what the light source was, but Guy was a serious hustler. I mean, he hustled a lot of people out of money for darts.
You spent enough time in bars. You picked up
I guess, man. He was really good, but he didn't broadcast it. Like, he didn't let people know it. So
in this photo, he looks like he came right off of the set of Deadwood.
Yeah,
That's right out of a Western movie.
Yeah,
You could tell me that was 1800s, and I wouldn't know any better.
Well, that's why I love this canvas. Because you can't tell when it was taken. You could have.
When you met Guy, were you guys hanging out at Bishop's Pub?
Yeah. Bishop's Pub was great. For
people that don't know about Bishop's Pub, what was it like? How would you describe it?
It was just a normal. It wasn't anything extravagant about it. It was just a hangout. It was just places that was comfortable. First of all, it was really comfortable. They had great bartenders. They had good food. They had a pool table. And people used to just, for some reason, it was one of those places where people just gravitated toward just a good place to hang. It was a good bar to hang out, and people knew it, and they were really good having musicians come and just hang out and play, and very casual. It wasn't anything. It wasn't a club like the Exit Inn or something. It was just a bar that people come in, bring a guitar, and sit around and play. So it was fantastic.
I'm looking at the aspect ratio. Is this 35 millimeter? What are you shooting?
35.
What was the camera that you shot this with?
Nikon. I always had Nikons.
Okay.
When I was in Vietnam, I went to Hong Kong and bought all my Nikons before I came back. Yeah. So I was there I came back in 65. So I had 3 or 4 Nikons that I brought back with me.
And this is all available light. So it looks like there's a window here as your light source. Yeah. So you shot this. You guys were walking around and just having fun in an abandoned house, and you have no idea till a few days later if you even got anything.
Yeah, exactly. That was the fun part of shooting film.
Was Guy and Susanna in a good mood?
Oh yeah, they were great. And with a 35 millimeter, you're not shooting Polaroids to see what you're going to get. It's just you're just shooting off the top of your head. But I mean, I knew what I was getting because I could see what I was shooting, what I was looking at, but they didn't know. Guy knew this house. Somehow he's the one that found this house. I mean, I don't know if he ever had been in it, but he knew the house and knew it was abandoned, and he knew he could get in it. So that's how we wound up there.
There's other photos if people want to see on his website at NashvillePortraits.com.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful outtakes from stuff. There's a photo of Townes Van Zandt with 2 big stuffed animals like you'd win at the fair.
He won those at the fair. We went.
Did you go with it?
Yeah. Guy and Suzanne and I and Townes went to the state fair. And Townes, it was one of those games that you can't, that's fixed so you can't possibly win, like where you have to throw something on the bottle and the ball bounces out. Like you can't, and Townes won it twice. He won it twice, and they gave him those 2 big dogs, the stuffed dogs. And we went back to the studio and started drinking, and that picture was... I never really hung out with Townes that much. All my time with Townes was usually from being with Guy and Townes, because Townes and Guy were together all the time. And when Guy would come over for a photo session, a lot of times he would bring Townes. And the portraits that I have of Townes, aside from the thing we shot at the Clement's studio, were all when we were doing something with Guy when Townes was just came along.
Okay.
And I mean, that's how I met him, and that's most of the time that I spent with him was with Guy.
Jim shot the album cover for At My Window, the Townes Van Zandt album. And I remember being over there at Cowboys with Sean Camp. And actually, the first time was with Jim Rooney. And we were walking in and seeing that window in the sink in his kitchen. And it struck me, and I was like, what is this? What is this? And I finally put it together, and I realized Townes, there's the picture that you took, and that's where it was. I kind of put it together in my head and asked Jim. I'm curious, what was the situation? What was going on then?
I think the way I got to shoot that is Rooney called me, because I knew Rooney. This is a Blue Velvet band that Rooney had. Okay. This is when I lived in New York City. Okay. This is 1968, and I knew Rooney back here. And they only made one album. It was called the Blue Velvet Band. It was Bill Keith, Eric Weisberg, Richard Green, and Rooney. Rooney was a singer. But they made a fabulous album called the Blue Velvet Band. And I think Rooney called me and set it up. You know, why don't you come over and take some pictures? It's something we can use for a cover. And they didn't want to go anyplace. They wanted to do it in the house. And the kitchen was great because it had great light. It was beautiful daylight, and that's how we wound up shooting it. I mean, we shot other stuff there, but I think that was the only place that had in the house that had really beautiful light.
Yeah. You know? So the cover of that is shot with Polaroid SX70.
SX70. I mean, I shot. I was shooting other 35 millimeter, but it was a time when I was really enamored with the SX70 stuff. So I shot some of that, and that's what wound up on the cover.
For the folks who aren't complete photo nerds, the SX70 was special because as soon as you shot the photo, made the image, you could start moving the emulsion around.
Before it dried.
And it looked a little psychedelic and interesting there. You did that with that cover.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't have anything to do with what they chose. I don't know who chose it, but I mean, that was one of my favorite ones of the day. Yeah. But there's some other 35 millimeter stuff that I shot with at the kitchen, at the sink, and Brian walked in for some reason. I don't know how that happened. Brian just showed up.
So that was the same day?
Yeah, it's the same day because he's wearing that same shirt with the cards on it.
So the picture of Guy. Of Townes and John Prine standing next to each other at the sink was the same day as the Townes album cover. Yeah. It's a tongue twister for me for some reason today. You shot a lot of album covers for Guy.
I shot almost all of them except maybe one or two. We just liked working together, you know? And he was always really, really, really comfortable with me. You know, I mean, he did whatever I asked him to do, and he just had his own ideas. But we just really worked really well together, and we always got something that he really liked.
He's a great subject.
Yeah, he's a great subject.
Very strong, handsome.
Yeah, and he was full of surprises too, man. I mean, sometimes I had ideas, but sometimes he came up with stuff that just were his own ideas that were just really great. You know, so it was always fun. It was always an adventure working with the guy. I mean, I just loved it. And we did just about every album except maybe one.
What's the story behind the photo of Guy with Sean and Verlin on each side of it?
Oh, well, Sean's parents were in town, and we were just shooting stuff. They were, and they invited him. He invited his parents to come down to the studio on 8th Avenue, and we were just fooling around. I mean, I don't think there was any real purpose to that. It was just something they wanted to do, just a photo session of them together, especially when Sean's parents were there. And they were up there just fooling around, just doing stuff, and Guy did that just naturally. He just picked up their shirts and I said, "Wait a minute, wait, stop!" And I made him do it and hold it, and they were just fooling around doing that. There wasn't any great theory behind it. It just happened. Guy did it. It was like one of Guy's ideas. Just grip and just do it. So
it's a fun.
That's a really It's
especially now that Guy's no longer with us. It's even more fun to look at that playful side.
Yeah, he was great. He always had good ideas.
Like, did you go see him live a lot around town?
I did. I went and saw him almost all the time when he was playing around town.
Where would he play at?
He played at what's that little club on? It's still there on 8th Avenue.
Douglas Corner?
Douglas Corner. I used to see him at Douglas Corner. I used to see him in the old days. He used to play the Exit Inn. I don't think he played much at the Station Inn, but mostly.
That's the last place I ever saw him, was playing at the Station Inn.
The Station Inn?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
When was that? What was that for?
It was him and Verlin. It was like probably in the last year of his life.
Really?
Yeah, I saw him twice there in the last few years of his life.
Okay.
It was great.
Yeah.
And it was a real heaviness to the room as he stepped up. It's a stage where, what is it, 1.5 feet, 2 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
And he kind of had a little bit of trouble stepping up onto
Yeah.
it, and you could feel the whole crowd kind of like with him.
Yeah.
And it felt like this might be the last time we ever see Guy
Yeah,
Clark.
I was probably there that night.
Wow.
You know, I went a lot. I mean, I really couldn't get enough of him, especially when he and Sean were. I mean, that was magic.
Yeah.
You know, that was real magic.
There's nobody better than Sean, man.
Yeah, I know.
Sean's great in so many ways.
And Verlin, too. I mean, they were made for each other, you know. They did. I mean, I used to. Just every chance they played, I mean, I pretty much tried to go to it.
Yeah. You said Douglas Corner. Were you there for when they recorded the live album?
Yeah. Yeah, I was. I shot that.
You shot it?
Yeah.
I haven't seen photos of that. I need to see those.
Yeah. Yeah, they're here somewhere. Well, the Opry probably has them now, but when I sold my stuff, they took all my negatives, so I don't have any of my negatives anymore. But they've been really good about, if I need to get something, I can go get it. I mean, they've been really good about loaning stuff to me. But I don't have a darkroom anymore, so I can't print anything.
Okay. Coming back to these, when you shot this, did you develop your own film?
Yeah.
And did you have a darkroom then that you went and how long did it take you to get it turned around to where you actually saw an image?
I usually did stuff pretty fast. I usually did it either overnight that night or the next day. And this was shot when I was living over in Sylvan Park. I had a little store, an old storefront over there, a grocery store that I'd lived in for 13 years, in 45th and Wyoming Avenue. And it was great because when I moved down here, I had no money, and I was looking for a cheap place to rent to have a little studio, and I found this grocery store that wasn't being used, but the woman living next door to it grew up in the store. It was her parents' store, so she grew up in it. And when I went and talked to her, asking her about if she would rent it because it was abandoned, and it was built in 1923, so it looked like a shack, and it really was in bad shape. And she said, "Well, I'll rent it to you if you, on one condition, that you take care of it and fix everything that's wrong with it, and keep it up. And if you'll do that, I'll rent it to you for $125 a month." So that. Wow. And I was there for 13 years. But it was a mess. I mean, the roof leaked. Heat and air was a mess. Plumbing was a mess. Everything was a mess. But my buddy, Bob Miller, that was my assistant at the time, a guy that I grew up with in New Jersey, I talked him into coming down. He was a real mechanic, and he's the one that really kind of fixed stuff up and put it together. But that was a great little studio because it had a little apartment in the back of it that I lived in, where the family lived when the store was running. The family lived in the back, and then they'd run the store during the day. So I had a little apartment in the back where I lived there for 13 years.
What do you remember about this here?
This was at one of these Guy Clark photo sessions that happened over on Wyoming Avenue. For some reason, Steve was playing bass for Guy when Guy first moved here. Well, I was shooting Guy. I don't know which photo session it was, but it was one of the early photo sessions. Steve walked in, and he was sitting over in the corner. And just during the photo session, Guy said, waved to him, said, "Come on, get up there, get a picture taken." And he got up and came over and stood there, and that was it. I shot probably half a dozen frames. He was still living in his car. He just moved here. He didn't have a place to live. He was living in his car. And I didn't know who Steve Earle was. I mean, nobody knew Steve.
Yeah.
And he came. He just moved from Houston. And
how old is he right there?
He looks. I don't know. He's probably 17, 18 maybe.
He looks like Justin.
Oh yeah.
He looks a lot like Justin right there.
Yeah. And he just came and walked into the frame, and I shot a few frames, and that was it. Well, I mean, it wasn't anything. There wasn't any great story behind it. Just Guy dragged him in front of the camera.
That's probably his first Nashville photos.
Oh, I'm sure it was, because he had just moved here. And Guy told me, he said he's staying in his car. He's sleeping in his car. So.
Did you shoot stuff of Steve later on in life?
I did. I shot some. He called me quite a few times. We did through the years. At the old studio on Wyoming Avenue, plus when I moved downtown, for some reason, and it was because of Guy, people used to come hang out just to play, just to have a place to come play together. And Guy used to call people and say, "We're going over to McGuire's." He'd call Rodney, he'd call Steve, he'd call all these different people that he knew that he wanted to pick with, and they would come over and sit around and they'd play all night and sit and drink and play. And that was the start of these. That was the very start of these picking parties that used to happen, and most of them were Guy's idea, and Guy calling people to come.
Who would be there?
Usually, always Rodney. Steve would come. Emmy Lou would come. And what happened is it started out with just a few guys, and then people started hearing about it. So one person would tell another, and then they'd invite people, and you never know who was going to show up. And especially when I moved downtown. I moved downtown '89. I needed to. My building was falling. The old storefront was really falling down, so I needed to find a new space. So I found this space downtown on 8th Avenue. And that's where the picking really started happening. We used to, and most of it was Guy, but I mean, people would come. Emmy would come. Nancy Griffith, Hartford, Vassar Clements. I mean, it turned into an event. Like when there was a night, when we set a night for picking, people would show up. And I had a couple of friends that were chefs that would go up in the kitchen and fix a big meal, and it turned out people just loved it. And a lot of it was not so much the songwriters picking, but it evolved into a Django night when I met John Jorgensen. I met Jorgensen, and Jorgensen was a Django freak. And we started, and all the jazz guys that loved playing Django didn't have a place to play. There was no jazz club at the time. So we started having it in my house. And that box right there, Django Jams,
yeah,
they're tapes, like a lot of tapes of these Django Jams. Everybody would just sit around in a circle and pick. And then I finally found a guy to come in and record it. And he was really good. He'd hang mics up overhead and just sit there and record the whole thing. And all those tapes in there are really amazing Django nights. Vassar Clements. I was just listening to one here.
Oh, that's what we were just listening to.
Yeah. This is Django, January 6, 2001. Sam Bush, Martin Taylor, Daryl Scott, John Jorgensen, Brian Sutton, Dennis Crouch. I mean...
Yeah. Some heavy hitters.
Yeah, there was some really amazing stuff. And we got a lot of it on tape. The tapes are rough. I mean, you can hear them, but people talking in the background, dogs barking and stuff. But it's amazing stuff. I haven't listened to that stuff for years. That's why I pulled them out recently and started listening to some of it.
So when you talk about these parties with, with these great players and writers, Towns and Rodney and Guy and Prine and all that, and these parties, that's the Nashville I moved to.
That's what it was at the best, man.
When people make fun of Nashville, I'm like, what are you talking about? You know? Because they're thinking of some big pop thing,
Yeah, right.
and I'm thinking of that. It's
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about? That's
Yeah, that was it, man. It was fabulous. And I was lucky because I knew I'd shot album covers for a lot of those people, for Nancy Griffith and Emmy and Prine, and they're people that I was working with. And I was lucky to have a place. I mean, that studio, it's a 6,000 square foot warehouse and big studio, open studio space. And it had a skylight. We built a skylight above it. So when there was a jam session there, we would open up the skylight so that the acoustics were great. I mean, it was just a great acoustic room. And it had a big kitchen. People would come and cook food. I mean, it was the highlight. I mean, that stuff was the highlight of my career, being able to hang out with those people and have them come over and sit and play all night. And a lot of it was guys doing. I mean, especially in the beginning, he's the one who invited people. But Hartford used to come, Prine, but I mean, everybody. And it spread. And once the word spread, and Mangler's job was to work the door, to keep, to not let people in from the street in, you know. The people just walked in. You had to pass Mangler to get in.
keep the squares out.
Well, just people, you know, it was on 8th Avenue back then before the Gulch became the Gulch. It was before the Gulch was ever named the Gulch. It was 89.
So we mentioned Mangler a little bit earlier. I figured this will show you Mangler's sense of humor here.
Well, this was shot, this was an Emmylou photo session for the album cover, White Shoes. So she's got these white shoes on. It's out of Cheekwood. And we're shooting, getting ready to do the shot, and Mangler comes over and he says, "You want to know what it's like to manage Emmylou Harris?" And he got down on his knees and started licking her shoes.
Oh boy. If you knew Mangler, you would understand.
Yeah. And Emmy she was beside herself. I mean, it was great. This is one of my favorite pictures of Mangler.
Mangler was, for those of you who don't know, dude, outside of Baby Pootie, like the greatest road manager of all time. And he's the man who burned Graham Parsons' body in the desert. He tour managed Frank Zappa and came up with "Why Does It Hurt When I Pee," which had turned into a song.
Do you know Travis Rivers? His claim to fame is he was a hippie from Austin who wound up in San Francisco during all the hippie stuff out there. And he was the guy, and he ran ran one of the hippie newspapers. Forget which one it was. But when all that crazy music was going on out there, he was the one that got picked to drive back to Austin, Texas, and talk Janis Joplin into moving to San Francisco. And he actually picked her up in Texas and talked her into doing it and drove her out. And there's a chapter in her book about that drive. And when the hippie thing started to calm down out there, he moved to Nashville, and he produced Tracy Nelson. He was Tracy Nelson's manager and producer. And he had an office in one of those houses. It was on 19th Avenue, right across. Scotty Moore's recording studio was right across the street from him on 19th. But Travis had an office in the upper floor of one of those houses. And he was the guy that everybody went to when they moved to town and trying to figure out where to go to talk to publishers or to get gigs or whatever. And he's the one that talked me into moving to Nashville, because Tracy was playing. I was still living in New York City, and Tracy was playing a show there at the Gaslight down in the Village, and I went to the show and I met Travis just casually. I was putting up some prints on the wall, and Travis came in and we started talking, and he invited me to come to Nashville to shoot Tracy for the cover. on the record they were doing. So that was my first trip to Nashville, and I fell in love with it immediately. This is like 1971, and it was really cool back then. And so I decided, I'd been in New York for 7 years, and for me, it was time to go. It was getting too expensive, and I was losing my studio, so I had to find more space, and I couldn't find space. So I decided to come. After my visit to Nashville, I decided that's what I was going to do. And Travis is the one that talked me into it. Anyway, he's the guy, when people like all these Texas guys, when Towns and Guy and Rodney and all these people started in the early 70s, started to come to town, Travis was the one that they would gravitate toward, because he could point them in the right direction, tell them who to see at the record companies, introduce them to people at Tree Music, all the publishing. He knew all the publishers, he knew all the record company people. So all these people, so that's how I met Guy, through just hanging out. I stayed with Travis in his office. I slept on his floor for about 6 months, until I found the place. And all these people would be coming through. Rodney and Guy and Towns and Emmy Luke. Travis took Emmy Lou to every record company in Nashville, and nobody would touch her until she got her manager, until Eddie Tickner got a hold of her. Yeah. But he was the guy. And if you want to hear real Nashville stories from the 70s, you need to talk to Travis. He's living in San Francisco now, and he's doing really good. But he's one of those guys that has so many stories that no one's ever heard. If you're ever in San Francisco, you need to just...
Let's make it happen. I'll get on a plane.
I mean, I'm serious, man. He's like, it'll be one of the best things you've ever done, because he likes to talk and he likes to tell stories, and he knows all the stuff that happens.
Let's do it, Travis. Let's do it.